Welcome, everybody, to episode 65 of the Serial Chillers podcast. Very special episode today. We have two wonderful guests here in the studio. This is actually both of their second times on the show. First time in the SUPRnetwork studio. Welcome back. And welcome for the first time, Nick and Geddy. Hell yeah, this was awesome. We also have two serial killers, Robert Browne and Wayne Williams. Motherfuckers don't trip. Hella Greg was here in person for this episode. This one I had too much fun. Thank you, Nick and Geddy. It was fucking awesome. Everybody sit back, relax, and enjoy episode 65 of the Serial Chillers podcast. That too. All right, well, welcome to episode 65 of the Serial Chillers podcast from the SUPRnetwork studio. I am here, not across the internet, in the SUPRnetwork studio with... How goes it, Hella Greg?
Good, man. I'm good. I'm all loaded down with food, with a meatball sub, and I'm feeling it. I'm feeling myself.
We pre-dinnered the show tonight.
That's right.
And we did that with our two in-studio guests. You guys may remember them from the show, episode 55. Am I not right?
That's right, yeah.
Episode 55. Welcome back, Geddy and Nick.
Yeah, I'm still first.
You are.
Sorry. I think I put Nick's name on the board first. So I was just flipping again. So, yeah.
And there's Geddy and Nick.
Here, we'll let Greg flip a coin on it. Welcome back, Nick and Geddy.
There you go.
Which one's going to make it in? All right. So, you guys, thanks for traveling to be here. That's quite nice of you. We appreciate that. It's exciting to have you. Welcome to the SUPRnetwork studios.
How was the PR team when they picked you up? Was the car on point? Was everything?
Oh my God, it was lovely. Doors opened. Back to the Future was on the TV.
Yeah, that was actually pretty legit. We watched the rest of that movie.
Oh my God.
That was actually a true story.
Yeah, we showed up to dinner late because
we sat in the parking lot and just...
Yeah, so welcome, gentlemen. You guys know how the show works. Let me explain it for anyone that doesn't. Each week I sit down with old friends, new friends, good friends, and bad friends to tell them the story of an infamous serial killer. Or maybe more than one. Throughout the show, you guys can chime in on my story, and if you brought a story of your own that is true crime, dark, creepy, unsolved, or otherwise mysterious, please feel free to share it. Lastly, if you have questions about questions, make sure to ask questions, because I cannot answer questions about questions if you never asked questions. Are there any questions?
Anybody else warm?
Welcome to and let's play the Serial Chillers podcast. Yeah,
that happened.
All right. Like I said today, guys, we have two serial killers for you. They're not a serial killer pair. Let me just explain what happens when you're 60 episodes into a strictly serial killer podcast. Not that there aren't some big names still out there, but we can't do them all right now.
Yeah,
we got to spread them out. So I've got two guys who the body count may be very high total for both of them, but we don't really know a lot about them. Maybe you've heard the names, maybe you haven't. We've got two. Let's start with the first one. Tell me, have you guys heard of Robert Charles Browne?
No.
Mysteries.
Bob Chuck Browne?
Bob Chuck Browne. Browne with an E, too, by the way. Browne. All right, so...
Says Brown's son, quit trying to church it up with that E.
Note cards and pins
his
in
daddy
the
must have hated
center.
Oh.
Yep, it's the real deal Holyfield now.
Goodness.
Question number 1. In what year is Robert Charles Browne born? 250 points to the closest. 1,000 if you nail it. What year was Robert Browne born? All right. Geddy's got it in and feeling confident. What have we got? Geddy says 1961. Nick says
1935.
35.
I'm leaning more towards Nick's. I like 35.
Geddy gets 250 points.
That's all right, man. I went to bat for you.
Let's change history.
Robert Charles Browne was born Halloween Day,
Ooh.
1952. Ooh. 250 points for Geddy. My pen dried out. Fuck you. Let me get one of these blue ones.
Say what? We'll hang on to that challenge flag until later on in the game, and then if we feel like we got screwed on another one, we'll throw the challenge flag and go to the video replay.
So we know where Greg's alliances land.
That was a general statement. That goes for you too, pal.
I've already known this, man. I knew it. I even said it coming up.
So Halloween Day, 1952.
I know it.
Robert Browne is born in Coushatta, Illinois. It's probably like Coushatta or something like that.
Bruschetta.
But yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. It sounds delicious now. He is the youngest of how many? 9 children.
Also, they didn't have a TV in the bedroom.
He is said to, because they didn't jump an alligator to get it. He's said
Y'all
to,
get that?
yeah, he's said to have been bullied by his older siblings. Yeah, I mean, you have 8 older siblings. His mother may have even encouraged the rough behavior. That said, she wasn't one to stand between the boys being boys, you know. Like his father was what I refer to as a utility man, not in that he does utilities in like the baseball term. He kind of did a little bit of everything. Already, question number 2: what job would his dad land as permanent? You can stab for 1,000, but I've got multiple choice here for 250. A little tough to stab on this one, but it's 1,000 points if you want it. I definitely went in and added more stab opportunities today, just because of that tweet. Yep. So there are more stab opportunities throughout the episode. We have 17 questions today.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we do.
Yeah. So
It's going to be a shootout.
This is a goddamn special occasion.
yeah, or someone's just going to be like 2,225 to 7. So
You lost 243 points for that stupid ass answer.
I wager 3.
So I have some multiple choice, but if you'd like for 1,000 points, you can guess what job his dad landed as permanent.
I don't have to listen to tweets. I'll take the multiple choice.
He's going to take the multiple choice. Nick?
You're your own
I don't
man.
have
There's
Twitter,
a bunch
man.
of them. Yeah.
All right. Nick doesn't have Twitter. Okay. Was he A, custodian, B, mechanic, C, officer of the law, or D, a movie theater manager? Custodian, mechanic, cop, movie theater manager. What did his dad do?
Oh, we're writing them down?
Yeah, you can. I mean, as long as one person writes it down.
Yeah, I'm thinking, just because I want to say it. It's custodian, dick.
Custodian.
Dick.
2 custodians. Well, his dad's permanent job that he lands, he becomes a deputy sheriff.
Oh.
Yes.
I was hoping it was going to be a cop because, where else can a guy who failed at a bunch of other stuff go and, be a champion for the people?
We never said that he failed at those things. Maybe he just tried them and didn't like them or didn't find them challenging or, all right, man. We never said he failed, okay? He just did a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Just setting the record straight for Robert Browne's dad, okay?
Let's have a little sympathy.
So,
I guess.
Yeah, boys.
His early life is struck with a lot of odd tragedy. On New Year's Eve, 1961, he's 9 years old, and his grandfather threw himself down a well to commit suicide.
That's smart.
Yeah, let's not only kill ourselves, let's also ruin the water supply.
Like that chick in the hotel.
Yeah, Elisa Lam?
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. Well, I just, it seems like, if you're going to do it, maybe just like make it a more quick and
I don't know. I think
effortless.
it's more of a cry for help.
Yeah, that's a gnarly cry for help because he would die jumping down this well. The next
He's like,
year,
little girls can do it, and they're fine.
Sting comes and saves them.
So, the next year, his aunt is brutally murdered. So by the age of 10, he's experienced loss. He's seen some shit, let's say. At the age of 16, he drops out of school. At the age of 17, he joins the army. In 1970, yeah, see, I skipped it. I had other things for questions here. In 1970, he's now 17. He marries 13-year-old Terry Laverne Ward. This isn't for a second take. Let me just run it back for you. 1970, 17-year-old Robert Browne marries 13-year-old Terry Laverne Ward.
What is he, Jerry Lee Lewis?
Well, we're talking like northern Louisiana. It's, I'm not saying that everybody caught up at the same time.
Seriously, though. Jerry Lee Lewis, Woody Allen, Elvis Presley, and this guy?
I mean, I wouldn't put
Gandhi.
him there. I haven't heard Robert Brown's music yet.
Was he 8? So he was 18.
17.
He was 17.
They're both underage.
Oh, I was thinking he was older.
No,
Okay.
he was 17.
So that means the parents. Had
I
to
mean,
write off
still
on it.
though,
Yeah, no, it doesn't make it any better, but
Yeah.
it'd be better like in the future. But at that time, that's a big difference in age.
yeah, like it'd be better when she's like 25.
Yeah, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
There you go. That's what it is, guys.
That's the worst thing this guy has done.
So he's still in the Army at the age of 20.
date.
Yeah, exactly.
Allegedly.
Well, here's the thing: there's kind of like a peak here for a minute because at the age of 20, he receives the Bronze Star in Vietnam for service. It sounded good, but I looked it up just to make sure I knew what the Bronze Star was.
Flame throwing.
Yeah, the Bronze Star Medal, unofficially called the Bronze Star, is a United States decoration awarded to members of the United States Armed Forces for either heroic achievement, heroic service, or meritorious achievement or meritorious service in a combat zone.
He was the guy who was cranking up Fortunate Son from the side of the Huey.
Don't anybody sing it. We can't pay that. No!
They're just like, get him!
In 1973, he's 21 years old, and he's like, you know what? You're a little too old for me now, Terry. I'm going to go ahead and need a divorce. She's 16 at this point.
Damn, 16 and already divorced once.
Yeah,
Yep.
where does she go from here?
Down.
July of 1973, he's awarded exemplary behavior and efficiency and fidelity from the Army. My favorite part about this is the source I got it from. Whenever they would put something like that from the Army, they would not put the, so they would just put from Army. So I just thought of Buster every single time.
I'm going to Army.
Yes.
The seal's for sand racing, and this one's for bravery.
So he's now divorced from his now 16-year-old wife. He gets an award for exemplary behavior, efficiency, and fidelity from the Army. He is given an outstanding service in connection with military operations against a hostile force from the Army that very same year. Later in 73, he's going to marry his second wife, a Vietnamese, Thiet Minh Hun, in Bexar County, Texas. 1974, he's 21. Still, his father dies. Later in 1974, Robert and Thiet Minh Hun's son, Thomas, is born. So his first child. Yay. Congratulations, everybody.
Muzzle tov.
Yeah, the end.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So October 1975, 22-year-old Robert is awarded exemplary behavior. Yeah, he gets another award. Sorry, I was like, wait, am I reading this again? In 75, he's awarded exemplary behavior, efficiency, and fidelity from the Army. So he's fairly decorated.
I mean,
Like-
is that good during Vietnam though?
I think in the Army's
Not so bad as any
eyes,
Vietnam.
I would say, as far as your pay grade's concerned, yes. Maybe what you did there to earn that.
Yeah, that's like the scary thing.
Well, nobody talks about that though. You don't mention that part. You know, like that's like, I don't know. It's like being a lawyer. Like, yeah, I'm a lawyer, and people are like, "Oh, what are you doing?" You're like, "Oh, I'm a defense attorney," and they're like, "Oh,
chomos."
oh,
It's like, oh, cool.
yeah." Like you
Paid,
just
son.
you know what happens. You just don't talk about it.
Yep.
I think
I don't like this guy.
What did the Army call it? Don't ask, don't tell.
Wasn't that
You mean what did Army call it?
Yeah, I'm sorry. What did Army call it?
Please, sir.
Sorry, mother.
So after his last award for exemplary behavior, he decides to divorce Thiet Minh Hun. Yes. Question number 3. After many years of service to the U.S. Army, he would be dishonorably discharged. Why? Is it A, drug use, B, violent outbursts, C, he goes AWOL, or D, multiple insubordination orders? Drug use, violent outbursts, AWOL, or insubordination?
All those sound fun.
Don't look over here.
I'm looking.
There's so many walls you can look at.
Look at me. Look me in the eyes. Maintain eye contact. Keep it.
Okay. Nick says violent outbursts. Geddy says he went AWOL. And neither of you will be scoring points. Because July 12th, 1976, he receives his dishonorable discharge from the Army for drug use.
Yeah, me too.
It was Vietnam. What'd you guys think it was
That's why
going to
I was
be?
gonna pick drug use.
Well,
Well,
I
that's
thought-
what I thought. I was like, dude,
The guy winds up killing people,
They're
so I was like,
fine.
B, violent outburst. Maybe
Yeah,
it's
no,
in.
that's a solid strategy.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, AWOL, he's just out of there.
He liked the cocaine and the marijuana.
Who doesn't?
Right.
Yeah.
This
We
is
can blame him
America.
for a lot, but this isn't one of them, brother.
This is America. Come on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This wasn't in Vietnam.
So September of 1977, he marries his third wife, Brenda Gale Ware. At least we know Robert Browne was a ladies' man, right? I guess it's like, I don't know.
He was just locking them down.
Wait, how old was she?
We stopped getting ages, which makes me believe that they're of normal or legal age. 1979, he's now 26. He takes Brenda Gale Ware down to a remote waterway where he beats her fiercely within an inch of her life. She barely made it out alive. So this is one of our first real violent outbursts. They've been married 2 years at this point, too. So it sounds like they just had a bad argument. And he's like, no, you know what? Fuck this. We're not done. And he took her down there. And,
I don't want salmon shake.
Well, how do you were they like already down there? Do you know, or was
No,
was he
it's
like follow me?
Come on.
it sounds more like
Going
he,
to the river.
from what I understand, it sounds more like he was like, oh, we're going to go down here and like, me and you time.
Yeah.
So he took her somewhere where he could beat the shit out of her.
Well, look who showed up here. She's like, I fucking followed you. We drove together.
So yeah, she escapes within an inch of her life. Needless to say, they were no longer together after that. July 14th of 1980, Catherine Jean Hayes is a white female. She is 15 and she is strangled in Coushatta, Louisiana. Browne will later confess to this murder. October of 1980, he divorces Brenda Gale Ware. So she stayed with him actually for a few months after the beating.
I thought that was the question. He divorced Linda Gale Ware. Bruschetta.
It's like he beat me by the river, but at least there was a good view. So I got to take
Divorced her in the river.
So the very same month that he divorces Brenda Gale Ware,
The lady.
October of 1980, he marries Rita Coleman.
Yeah, he is a ladies' man.
So he's on his fourth marriage now?
Fourth marriage.
Yeah,
28 years old.
This guy just keeps giving away half his shit.
Same month, he strangles Rita Coleman, and she ends up in the ER, where the doctor told her that her larynx was almost completely crushed. Yes. We should point out when they're finally looking at him for crimes, all of his ex-wives and girlfriends talk about how much he used to beat them, and for seemingly nothing at all sometimes. One ex-wife mentioned that Robert beat her for not putting a spoon in the gravy bowl.
Huh.
You don't need it.
I was going to say it pours.
It's a boat.
Yeah, so it was funny because on the documentary that I had, it was almost all reenactments, but they brought on his real ex-wives who were like, fuck this motherfucker. Let me tell you why. Yeah, for interviews. Yeah. No,
like,
for
all right,
interviews.
pretend like I'm Browne again.
Can you relive this real quick?
Yeah. So, but that
where's
was
the gravy boat?
where you got the gravy story, where you got ones where they said like that they would make him a drink when he got home, but they'd make him the wrong drink.
What a piece of shit.
Yeah. Just enjoy the gin and tonic,
Yeah,
you
you just
fuckface.
drink
Get the
it.
Jack and Coke next.
He did something nice.
So he's just out here instead of just
him his beer shook up.
so
I got you.
April Fool. So after he nearly crushes the larynx of Rita Coleman, yeah, he's doing real good. All of his wives are kind of coming forward saying that he was pretty violent the entire way. In 1981, he is arrested for stealing 3 rolls of copper wire from Wireways Incorporated. So now he's starting to sound a little more like a drug addict. Yep. 1982, at 29, he is arrested for burglarizing a construction trailer belonging to International Paper Co. He would plead guilty to burglary and theft counts. Question number 4. How long would he spend in jail for this burglary and theft? Closest to the answer gets 250 points, 1,000 if you nail it. How long would he spend in jail?
Do we write it or just say it?
One of you's got to write it. That can't be how it goes. I don't know, man. That way someone can't change their answer.
I don't know. We've had some shocking answers before.
I wrote mine down. You can just say yours.
Yeah, but then if I'm like totally wrong, then I sound like an idiot rather than I wrote it down like an idiot.
I can edit this to make you sound like whatever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So how many years? Where are we?
Not necessarily years. It could be hours,
That's what I'm
even,
freaking
right?
out about,
How
man.
long did he spend in jail for the burglary and theft counts? Days, weeks, months, years?
So burglary and theft, huh?
Burglary and theft.
This guy's a slimy piece of shit.
Yeah,
so
this
I'm just
is
gonna
for
say like 13 months.
Okay, 13 months. This is for the wire and the paper.
I wrote down 8 months.
8 months.
He did.
Wise.
Wow.
Very wise.
Okay, so the 8 months will get points because
See, there you go.
for the burglary and theft,
Slimy
bastard will spend 45 days in jail.
Oh my goodness.
I overshot it by a lot, and you're calling me a slimy bastard. I don't appreciate that.
I don't have to sit here and take this abuse,
I mean, I will.
I'm going to slap
but I don't have to. It's not mandatory.
All right.
It's strictly
They
volunteer.
fought for my freedom in Vietnam.
250 apiece here, guys. We're 4 down, 13 to go. March 30th, 1983, Wanda Faye Hudson, a white female who is 21, is stabbed to death in Coushatta, Louisiana. Browne would also later confess to this murder. 1984, he is now 31 years old, and he divorces Rita Coleman. 4 years in this one, so I think that might have been the longest one. February 6th, 19...
To date.
Yeah.
4 years after he crushed her larynx.
Allegedly.
Yeah, 4 years after the larynx crush, they finally get a divorce. And that's how their marriage starts. They were married in October, and the ER visit is in October.
So he's like, happy honeymoon.
Yeah, let me crush your larynx.
If he got married on October 1st, that's less than 30 days before he was smashing her throat.
Yeah, so like...
If he got married like in the middle of October, that shit's like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks into it, he was like, you know
It's
what?
literally like...
We're at this point.
Yeah.
So, February 6th, Nydia Mendoza, who is a Hispanic female and 17, her body is found in Sugar Land, Texas. Browne would also later confess to this murder. March 25th, 1984, Melody Bush is poisoned to death in Flantonia, Texas. Flatonia. Browne would later confess to this murder as well. 1985, he's charged with stealing a bell from a local Baptist church. He was about to sell that bell for weight of the metal and just went ahead and swooped it from the church.
I like to think that the guys...
That's good karma.
I like to think that the guys like working at the recycle place were like, "Where'd you get the bell?" He was like,
You don't worry about where I got this bell, man.
"Family heirloom."
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
It works so good.
Playing, it's in good shape.
Boom, boom.
I'll take value for it.
So, yeah, what a fucking idiot this guy is. January 23rd, 1986, he steals a Ford truck from a Ford dealership. He takes the truck to Colorado, where he meets up with Marjorie Miller, an old lover, and a man named Jack Mason. This trio would be up to no good in no time. What's that?
Any man-woman combo, like, that's danger.
Yeah.
That's just sketchy.
Come on, haven't you seen Savages?
It's just
In
that's a good one.
In 1986, he continued to still use marijuana and cocaine and sell it to dealers for money. Yeah, that's how he's making that skrill, yo. He's dealing to the dealers.
He's moving weight.
So he's a wholesaler. Or is he just like flipping dime bags to these guys? You're like, hey, I know you normally get it per pound, but
check
this
shit out.
I've got 1.5 grams of...
You can cut this and make 2 grams.
That's cool. I'll take $5. You want this bell?
So he's drug using. He's he's a little bit out of his mind and out of control with Marjorie and Jack. Question number 5. He kills an animal. He's already murdered, remember. So we're not saying like, oh, he killed an animal. He's escalating. He's already committed murders at this point. But he kills an animal. He just seems to have a need to kill. He needs the thrill. What animal does he kill? You can stab for 1,000 points or 250 points on the multiple choice.
I'm going to go dog. I mean...
Nick going for the throat. If it's a dog, it's 1,000 points. Geddy, you can take it all away from him and just also guess dog.
I would never do that.
You would, though.
I'll do it in a couple questions.
$1, Bob.
I got a strategy.
I don't want to go dog. I want to go dogs.
I don't know. Because first I was like, he probably just crushed a deer larynx. Or he just grabbed it by the horns and
just kick the fucking shit out of a squirrel.
Bam!
Ran over a bird like George Costanza. We had an agreement.
Dude,
Sorry, I'm getting distracted. I don't know. I think I'm going to go opposites, brother. Let's go with cat.
Oh, Geddy says cat. Nick says dog.
I didn't like that. Ooh.
But Robert Browne shoots a cow, slits its throat, and drinks the blood.
What the?
Jack Mason recalls.
You got me with the. I was like, I'm in.
I know. I thought so.
It's gonna be
He thought it was K9.
Yeah. So.
Canine erectus.
Yeah, he shoots a cow. It shot a cow in the side, and then while it was like stumbling around, slices the throat, gets some blood in a cup, and fucking crazy guy drinks it.
Right on.
That's intense.
Yeah.
That was more intense than I thought that story was gonna go.
Right.
I know. I heard cow was like, yeah, haven't we all?
So hopefully he made delicious burgers from it. September 1986, he's arrested and pleads guilty to the truck theft and resisting arrest when he got arrested for the truck theft. This would be stemming from that truck theft we talk about. They brought him to Colorado from the Ford dealership. Question number 6, two-parter. You guys ready for this? Another how long will he be sentenced to the Ford truck for the Ford truck thieves, and how long did he actually do? So this is two-part answer. How long was he sentenced for the theft of the Ford truck? How long did he stay in?
5 to 10.
5 to 10.
16 months. Keep writing.
You answered
As you
before
can see,
I could
I'm not
write.
doing too good.
We're tied. We're tied. We're both tied at not doing too
This
good.
is exactly what I wanted to happen.
I didn't say you were doing good. I just said I'm not doing good.
Well, I was gonna say he was charged with 5, and we'll say he spent a year and a half.
We'll go. We'll just call that one a wash. No one's scoring on that one. All right.
Why?
Because we give you to 10, you'll get no points for sure. So, no one's scoring on the first one, but someone is scoring 1,000 points on how long he would actually
What'd you guys?
sit in jail.
He said 18 months.
And I said
16.
Oh, fuck.
The tension is palpable.
I know. I want it to be.
The stare down, too. I'm loving the stare down.
Yes.
Can y'all feel it at home?
So, he is. It's 18 months. It's 18 months. Yeah, it's 18 months.
It was like being on a VH1 show where you're just like, fucking say it!
Yeah. And the answer is coming up right after this break.
So wait, what was how long was he? Did they sentence
18
him?
months. You got it. All right.
No, but how long did they sentence?
1,000.
We both got that one wrong.
2 years.
Okay.
2-year sentence.
Wow, that was an easy life back then.
2-year sentence, 18
Get
months.
yourself a
and-
Ford.
Yep.
Just go for it. Too.
Yep.
It was a Ford. They were like, fuck it.
Stealing a Ford, it ain't nothing but nothing.
At least it wasn't a bell.
Okay, so Nick scores
Like stealing a Power Wheel.
Today.
1,000
That's good.
points.
I'm proud
That
of you.
feels good. I'm proud of me.
Means he's up 1,250 to 250. Here we go. Don't worry, guys.
Don't be telling them.
We're 6 questions in, 11 motherfucking questions to go. November 10th, 1987, Rocio de Pilar Sperry, who is a Hispanic female, she is 15, is strangled to death in Colorado Springs, Colorado. She was a young mother and married. Again, young, she's a young mother. She's married. She is currently separated from her husband. Her husband had taken their kid to Miami, I think. He's underage as well. I think he's 17. She's 15. A lot of young fams in this. So Browne worked at the local convenience store near Sperry's home. They got into some flirting one night when her husband was gone. And once... so essentially she invites him over. Like, he's at the store, like, oh, you close in 20 minutes? Like, you should just come over after. And
That's the way that's how you used to have to meet people back in the 80s.
yeah, and so Browne was like, yeah, down. Wait, 15? Especially down. And so he heads over to the house, and he got the whole story. Like, the husband's gone, blah, blah, blah. So they're pretty much immediately getting intimate. And and he would then just go ahead and strangle her to death right as they begin to get intimate. Yeah. So he then messes up the house a little so that it would look more like a robbery or burglary, and also claimed that he knew what day the husband would be home, so he drove around their nice new Pontiac Grand Am until the day before, at which point he would park it in the parking lot of the convenience store that he worked at.
Smart.
Yes.
Yeah. So
we got to show
like, no one would think
you got to show it off to the coworkers. You got to be like, look what I fucking got.
Oh yeah.
When her husband would discover the empty apartment and car missing, he would go on a search. He obviously got with police, and the next day he goes to the convenience store and finds the car. He calls the police from the payphone outside the store where the man that killed his wife was currently working. So he was inside working behind the counter, and the husband is outside like, I found the fucking car on the payphone, and he can hear him. Like, he knows what's happening. Robert Browne.
Like you said, he knows this guy.
Yeah,
He
he's like a regular at the store.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
So he's
Yes.
just like,
Yes, exactly that.
goodness.
So 1988, he marries his fifth wife, Diane Marcia Babbitts.
They didn't
Illinois.
pick him up for that? Did it just...
No, they didn't know who did it. They didn't have like the DNA forensic stuff like they do
that
now.
checks
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
I mean, he drove it around, sweating the seat, got hair all over the seat, fingerprints all over the steering wheel, all over the fucking
sure
radio
there's
dials.
Definitely blood semen.
The only reason it gets
Lots of
solved
blood
is because of
spitting
him
ass.
later. Like, he's going to...
Do you think
Yeah,
like, when
weird
the
and
cops
cryptic.
came to tow that car, he's the guy that walks out like, what's going on here, guys?
Well, he was probably like, guys, I'm going to need you to take it off the thing. You're scaring away customers.
Yeah, like he's that guy though. But where he has to walk out of the store and acknowledge them towing the car.
Yeah, he has to be. It seems like he has to be involved.
What a douchebag.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet he had his like hand over his eye like a file, like, hey, what's going on out here, officer?
The hands upside down like this way up here. What you guys doing?
So you guys have seen some of the ages of his victims. His last victim was 15. Question number 7. How old will his next victim be? You can stab at this as well. It's for 1,000 points. I've got 4 multiple choice options for 250. His latest victim is 15. How old will his next victim be?
Can we ask a question about like the other ages? Like, does he have a pretty specific thing?
Did you not listen to the
I've been
introduction?
fading in and out.
If you have questions about questions,
I've been
please
fading
ask
in and
questions.
out.
Yeah, no. So specifically, I think he's admitted to 4 murders prior to this. Pretty much all teenagers around that 15 area. But you're on your own from now. Everybody gets one. Tell him, Peter.
Apparently everybody gets one. Bingo.
All right, you guys got answers?
I digress. I'm gonna say I'm gonna fucking stab into a 14.
Stabs at 14. Nick stabs at 13. You guys just think he keeps going down. Someone has scored 1,000 points.
The stare down.
Who wants to win the most, though? Like, that's what I want to know.
I
is
need
really-
to win
I
the
think
most.
Geddy wants to win the most. I enjoy winning, but I think Geddy's more competitive than I am.
You enjoy it, but he needs
Yeah,
it.
I
It's,
need
it's
it.
what
I
it's
have
going
to
to keep him going.
Yeah.
Then Geddy, you need to score a lot more points because Nick just got 1,000.
Damn.
That was savage.
It's gonna be.
He hits him with the heavy right hand, and Getty's stumbling around the outside.
Don't wrecking machine.
Don't count him out yet, but you know,
It's
start.
gonna be so sorry.
start
though,
counting.
when I catch back up.
All right. The score now. Nick, 2,250. Geddy, 250. Don't worry, guys. We're 7 questions and 10 to go. Plenty of time. Technically, if you got every question right at 250, you would win 2750 to 2250.
But he wouldn't be able to get any right.
Yeah. So
I'm a gambling man. I'm not great at it, but I do it.
there's some
You don't have to be good at something to be that man. You know.
there's some stabbing that can take place up here. And if you lose, I'll give you a knife, and there's some stabbing you can do.
He's going to stab Nick on the way out.
I don't know. I'm looking into
Give me
like,
your
crushing
points.
larynxes now.
I know it is.
Is that
Give me
what
your
That's gonna be my new
It seems to
thing.
be trending.
Yeah.
So, September 17th, 1991, Heather Dawn Church is a 13-year-old white female. She is abducted in Black Forest, Colorado. She was the oldest of 4 and babysitting her 5-year-old brother. That night, she was supposed to go to like a scouts meeting with her mom and the 5-year-old. And she was like, Dad, just let me stay home. I'm fucking 13. I'll watch the 5-year-old. You take the middle brothers to scouts and like, I'll see you tonight. And the mom was like, fuck it. Just like,
that's reasonable.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it'll make it easier on me. You get to stay home. You don't have to go do the bullshit. Like, yeah, this works.
Like, it's a simpler time.
Yeah.
We know this right now.
It was 1991.
So her mom calls around 8 o'clock, checks in. Everything's going good. The daughter says, son's still awake. They're watching a little TV, something funny, but everything's good. Mom says they'll be home, around 9:30. Right when the mom arrives, she goes into the 5-year-old's room and sees that he is safely tucked in and sleeping. She calls to her daughter a few times and then goes up to her room and notices that she is missing. She calls friends and Heather's father, who lived, I think it was like 25 minutes away, and they searched throughout the night. They lived on not a lot of property, like a couple acres, but it's really dark and it's slightly rural, so it's not lit up like the city is. So they kind of take the car and they're like crawling the fields that they have and just kind of lighting everything up. And so they're searching their immediate area first, then they get the police in, and the police immediately suspect that something is awry. And so there's in the doc, there's a small part where they talk about the mom was just like flustered with things going on. So she grabbed the vacuum and started vacuuming, and a detective came over and like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, this is a crime scene now. You can't do this. You could be destroying evidence. She said it was the first time that like it really hit her, like, this is fucking real.
Just like John Benet Ramsey.
Yeah, so she
body right away.
So she
Nice. All right, let's fuck everything up from the get-go.
Yes, exactly. So she says,
you touch the body? Go touch the body.
She says when the police stopped her from vacuuming and she realized that's a crime scene, she mentioned something about a window, and they go over and notice that the screen in one of the windows of the house has been popped out and it hasn't been seated back correctly. So they bring CSI over and they fingerprint the screen, and it brings back a complete set of fingerprints. They run the fingerprints through all the databases available to them, and they come back with nothing. November 3rd of 91, Lisa Lowe, who is a white female and 21, is strangled to death in West Memphis, Arkansas. Browne would later confess to this murder. 93, Heather's body is discovered by a homeless man in the area. So this is 2 years later. The coroner would be able to determine her cause of death by the remains. Question number 8. What was that cause of death? No multiple choice here. If you get the answer correct, it is 500 points. I want both you guys to write this one. What was that cause of death? For 500 points.
So that everybody gets one. That was just a hoax, right?
Well, I mean, you could definitely
shaking my chain.
You could definitely ask questions, but I can't promise that we've got answers.
We're not fucking Radio Shack. We're still in business.
Beautiful. Thank God. Oh, getting that Radio Shack. Bell, they don't hear it.
What do they get? They don't have the financial power to sue.
You guys got roasted.
Radio Shack's got the
Wendy's
chick working for them.
This body?
This is 2 years later.
Oh, fuck.
2 years.
And how did the previous victim die, the 21-year-old?
Strangulation. All right.
That's specific. I like that.
I'm going with the...
Nick says he's going with Robert Browne's most famous crime to Nick and Geddy, the crushed larynx. Broken neck, says Geddy. Blunt force trauma to the head. Wow. Yeah, so he's changing his MO over time.
My goodness.
It's what they call a curveball.
But they found her 2 years later.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if there was something with a broken neck, you wouldn't see the larynx.
No, that's a solid...
No, true, yeah. No, that's a good line of...
I just love the crushing larynx, because that just sounds...
Apparently, I do, too. I spelled larynx wrong, though. I don't know how you spell it.
I'd already like to backtrack and say I don't love crushed larynx.
Don't you lie to us.
It makes me feel some kind of way, but not
and that's something
love.
Greg should edit out. No.
Nah, that's going to be the bumper.
That's the bumper.
I love crushed this shit.
Okay, so nobody's scoring on that one. March of 1995, he's now 42 years old and has an online relationship with somebody named QT.
Wait, what year?
Yeah, 95. He was probably all ASL, question mark.
Winky.
18 FCA.
Yeah. So,
Samesies.
March 28th, 1995, he's arrested for the murder of Heather Dawn Church, the 13-year-old that had been abducted from Colorado. May 24th of 95, he pleads guilty to first-degree murder in the church case and sentenced to life without parole. March 17th of 2000, he writes his first letter to the El Paso County District Attorney. Browne instigated a new investigation by sending that cryptic letter to the authorities. The letter read, 7 sacred virgins entombed side by side. Those less worthy are scattered wide. The score is you 1, the other team 48. So, yeah, I know.
The math doesn't even check out.
I thought it started pretty sick.
Yeah.
And I've heard some shitty killer letters.
Yeah.
That ended, I don't get it. The question better not be, what the fuck does this mean?
Yeah. How do you get 7? How many times does 7 go into 48?
Fuck. This don't no fucking sense make.
Yeah, so he writes fuckface letter. That's pretty much what we got going on here. So the letter would also include a hand-drawn map with outlines of Colorado, Washington, California, New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Mississippi, with a number written inside of each state. Reception of Browne's claims have been mixed. John Suthers, Colorado politician and former state attorney general, has stated that Browne's story is credible. Journalist Dave Herrera, in contrast, has expressed skepticism about Browne's claims to being a true serial killer. Herrera notes that no bodies have been discovered or definitively linked to Browne, and only 7 of his confessions are detailed enough to even have a tentative link to an unsolved crime. Herrera argues that Browne is motivated by desire and attention and or better medical care, and further describes previous journalistic investigation of Browne's claims as surprisingly slipshod and uncritical of his story. So
basically, they just said, your shit's fucking weak, dude. You're probably not who you say you are.
There's there's 2
Quit
camps.
trying to make yourself badass.
One thinks that he did murder 49 people, and one's like, bullshit. He killed this one girl, and that's what it do. So the ones I gave you when I said he'll admit to this later, those are the 7 I'm talking about where they can kind of connect it and corroborate some. And some of the things that he says, they say that, like, we think in this instance, this is something that only the killer would know. So there's definitely some credence to it, but like they said, there is no definitive link between.
I wonder how much of that, like, something that only the killer would know is something that, like, just because he's a person of that same mindset, it's like something that's obvious to them.
Well,
where they're like,
listen to his letter again, okay? Because he kind of explains. He says, 7 sacred virgins entombed side by side. Those less worthy are scattered wide. So it sounds to me like there's a tomb where he's got his 7 like lovelies that he killed, and he's got them together, like, and then he's got another 41 throughout the 7 states we listed or whatever that are just
Midwest.
Spread. Yeah, just like the fuck. I killed him and I buried him. That's what I did. But I've got these 7 sacred virgins entombed side by side. Those less worthy are scattered wide. The score is you 1, the other team 48. So I think he's saying like, oh, you caught me for 1, but there's fucking 48 more to go. So what do you guys want to do?
There were 7 literally entombed side by side, or like his mind?
I
only give a shit about 7 of these.
I see. I don't know.
I'm not buying.
Yeah.
And he was giving away these stories. Yeah, that he's very Henry Lee Lucas. He's getting a lot of preferential.
You gotta smoke? I killed 2 bitches.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly
Why was that New York? Henry Lee Lucas, what the heck?
He's getting a lot of preferential treatment for these confessions. So May 9th of 2002.
It's very Ted Bundy too.
Yes, Charlie Hess begins talking to him, the famous forensic psychologist. July 27th, 2006, he's going to plead guilty to the murder of Rocio Sperry. So there was another letter. It wasn't as cool or cryptic, but it talked about the Grand Am lady, and they tracked her down based off the story of the Grand Am and blah, blah, blah. So they retroactively were able to charge him with that murder of the 15-year-old Rocio Sperry that he choked out in the car. Or in the house, sorry, and drove around the car.
He smashed up all their stuff.
Yes, exactly. So he's sentenced to concurrent life without possibility of paroles. September 22nd, 2006, he returns to solitary confinement in Colorado Territorial Correctional Facility. That's pretty much it for his life. There's a few claimed events that can't be corroborated, but he swears that these are all true. In 1970, he said that he kills an American GI while in South Korea, like he killed one of his homies. Yep. He says between 70 and 79, he kills a South Philly prostitute in New Orleans, in a New Orleans Holiday Inn. In the late 70s, he said he killed a Cajun lady in Morgan City, Louisiana. In 1980, he killed 2 males and set their trailer on fire. In 1980, he killed 2 people on I-70 west of Denver. Later again, in 1980, he said a lady laid to rest in a marshy area near West Memphis, Arkansas.
A lady laid to rest?
Yes. In 1985, he had dumped a male in the muck. Oh, he's using alliterations now. Dumped a male in the muck near Tulsa, Oklahoma. He threw a lady in the precipice in Washington State. Killed a couple in the beach in California in 86. Between 90 and 94, he killed a cowboy lady in Colorado Springs. And in 93, he shot a motorcyclist in New Mexico.
Can we back? Do you think the cowboy lady was transitioning? Maybe.
That's like when you get your letters from the female man.
Lady.
No, it's like she was he thought she was a girl, and then he gets her to the hotel room and it's a cowboy.
I don't know.
Oops.
That's been some defenses that have been
Robert Browne is Robert Browne. Question number 9.
Oh.
What year would Robert Browne die? 2006, 2012, 2017, or he's still alive?
Can I phone a friend?
06, 12, 17, still alive. 2006, 2012, 2017, still alive.
I'm saying 2012, the year of our Lord.
2012, hail Satan, says Geddy.
He's ad-libbing for me.
I'm going to go still alive.
And Nick is saying still alive. Well, we're going to head into a break after this question. We're going to let these guys cool off and let Geddy know that he's got a lot of catching up to do because Nick scored another 250 points. Robert Browne, God damn it.
22-5 in the first half?
No, that's 2,500, I think.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's 2,500. So 2,500
like
to 500, 250, 2,500 to 250. We're going to take a break here. We're going to come back with stories from Nick and Geddy? From just Nick. And come back.
Yeah, word of thumb.
Come back. Come back or we'll kill you.
What did you say?
Hit that yellow button. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 65 of the Serial Chillers podcast. Apparently, Nick has brought, well, let's just face it, it's a fucked up story. And we're ready to get into it a little bit. So, Nick, without further ado, please tell me what you got.
All right. Well, I picked up this little story about a Dr. Larry Schatt. He was the doctor at Jonestown. So we all know Jonestown. It's a hugely covered story. So I wanted to get into Dr. Schatt because he's kind of an overlooked part of that whole story that played a huge role. So I looked a lot for him and wasn't able to find a huge plethora of information, but there was a great article written by the Houston Press called Jonestown's Medicine Man, and that's where I pulled most of my information from. I wanted to open up with a quote from this sick fuck. So here it goes. And we've decided to take our lives, and I've decided to take my life because we can't give to the world what we really want to give. We really want to give what we are, the way we work here together. The cooperative, Marxist, Leninist, communist lifestyle we live and uphold, we can't give to the world what we really want to give, or we can't give to the world what we really want to give. This was taken from a recording in 1978, just months before the massacre. Damn. Yeah. So Dr. Larry Schatt was born in Houston, Texas. Question number 1. I kicked this off with a very Jesse question. What is his birthday?
Wrong.
Closest person in what year?
How dare you disrespect him in his home?
So closest person to the question or to the answer gets to punch Geddy in the face.
1929.
I'm gonna say 1921.
I'm going to guess as well, so I can punch myself in the face.
That's kind of why I said it like that.
All right, what is it between?
21, 28, right?
21, 29.
21, 29.
1930. 1930.
Oh!
Just no, 0030.
So we all got to watch Geddy punch himself in the face.
Yeah!
Larry Schatt was born October 2nd, 1948.
Woo!
He was born to a Ezra and Mona Schatt. His father...
Mona Schatt.
Mona, right? His father, Ezra, was an electrical engineer in Houston. He also had an older brother, Danny, and younger sister, Paula. It was a nice little Jewish family of 5. In their house, it was understood that being different and outspoken had real consequences. Ezra and Mona Schatt were communist, anti-war Jews living in Houston in the 1960s. So this basically invited anybody who lived in Texas to come give them shit because they were very outspoken about these issues.
Made themselves kind of a target.
Exactly, yeah. So even before the horrific events at Jonestown, the government had some run-ins with the Schatt family. In December of 1963, Mona and Ezra popped up on a Secret Service memo. This was during the Kennedy assassination, like right in that time. The memo read, Mona Schatt is an official in the state Communist Party and considered the top-ranking communist in the Houston area. Secret Service spooks also saw Mona and Ezra speak at a March 1962 Picnic for Peace in Austin Zilker Park, in an apparently suspicious event that also featured some potential enemies of the state known as a folk singer affiliated with the leftist movement and several members of the Young People's Socialist League of Houston.
I gotta say, the Red Scare was one of the craziest times. People were straight up calling the cops on their neighbors.
Yeah. It's like a modern day witch hunt.
Yeah, it was that was crazy.
I think I heard him say comrade twice yesterday. Yeah. We're on our way.
The guy really likes his vodka, that's all I'm saying.
Sure it wasn't Conrad? No.
That is your name, though.
Yeah, so randomly enough, this did trigger followings of the Schatt boys. So because their parents were so deeply involved in the communist movements, the FBI would follow the 2 boys around town. Sometimes people thought Larry was paranoid when he would casually mention this to the FBI, or when he would casually mention this to them. There was a story of him and this girl smoking weed in a car, and he's like, "You see that guy over there in that car? He's the FBI following me." And people just were blow him off, "You're fucking paranoid, Larry."
Come on, Larry.
Exactly.
So we gotta start paying attention to Greg. Is that really what you're telling me right
man,
now?
Because here's the thing. So everybody thought he was paranoid, but there was an actual FBI memo from December of 1978 that states the smoking of weed by this particular Lamar high school junior was a subject of national concern. The 1978 memo references an existing FBI file on the Schatt family, and the note stated that as early as 1966, Houston G-men knew that the Schatt boys enjoyed marijuana and LSD.
But it was the 60s. Who
Buck 'em,
fucking
Dano.
didn't?
Well, yeah, but still, they had FBI tails, though. I mean, that. This guy thinks he's paranoid, and
I get what you're saying. Don't buy drugs and don't be stoned out of your gourd when you got an FBI tail. You need your senses about you in case you need to Jason Bourne somebody.
Exactly, but I mean, so
Or don't let anyone know that you're stoned when you're telling them that you're being followed.
Yeah, I don't know.
And if you're also, what was it, an anti-war commie Jewish family?
Yeah, there's so much things, so many things you don't want to be. In
none of that stuff was wrong, but it felt.
Yeah.
So
there was a lot of good stuff.
So it's actually unclear. Out of all the research I found, it's unclear when he started using drugs. But late in his teens, he started shooting meth. So he jumped from just smoking. It's unclear what they didn't say in 1978.
I'm still shooting amphetamines.
But he started shooting meth. He went straight from just smoking a little bit of weed, having acid every now and then to just intravenous meth usage. He was very deep into drugs in the Houston scene for about 5 years. After this, one day he just up and moved to California. And a later FBI investigation called it almost a cosmic event. Larry himself is even quoted saying, I've always considered it a miracle that I left Texas, traveled to California, and heard Jim Jones speak my third day in the new state. Jones helped Shat get clean after they spoke and offered to pay for his medical school. Question number 2. What did Jim Jones and Larry Shat do shortly after meeting and having this conversation? Or shortly after Larry got clean and then Jim Jones offered to pay for medical school?
What did they do?
Yeah.
Went to breakfast.
Maybe. If that's your answer.
Did
That's my answer.
they, I want to say they made a pinky promise to die together.
Blood
Maybe.
oath.
I think
Cut their palms. And...
they shared a cup of Flavor Aid.
Well, Geddy, you're wrong.
You're wrong.
This whole damn system's wrong.
So they actually had sex.
You're
Yeah.
all right.
So Jim
What
Jones.
better way to make an impression?
Jim Jones.
That's how I'm going to seal all my business deals from now on.
he
Now
gets him
shall we
sober,
shag?
offers to pay for medical school, and then he legit fucks him. There's actually an affidavit written by Shat that Jones had sex with him.
That way, if the deal ever went south, he could be like, "Well, this guy fucked me."
Exactly, yeah.
He was in it for the long haul on this one.
He wasn't a liar.
So shortly after that, Larry went to Santa Rosa Junior College for about 2 years, and then transferred to UC Berkeley for a year, and then went to a medical school in Guadalajara for a year before being accepted into UC Irvine, where he finally graduated and obtained his medical degree. The entire time he went to the medical school, he was extraordinarily grateful to Jim Jones for covering the cost of school for him, so much so that he wrote testimony in a custody battle that Jim Jones was in.
But I mean, so he fucked this dude to go to medical school, and then he gets sent to Guadalajara.
Well, just for a year. So he went to two years in a junior college, went to Berkeley, and then went to a medical school in Guadalajara. Apparently, there's like a long waiting list and/or like qualifications to get into UC Irvine Medical School. The statement that Shat wrote for Jim Jones in this custody battle reads as such: Jim Jones has always shown great love and concern for me. He permitted me to accept my bisexual nature by having sexual relationships with me at my request before I went to medical school. He penetrated me in the anus. This, in turn, gave me confidence I needed to become a doctor and fulfill my goal to be of service to suffering humanity in the medical profession. So that's an actual direct quote from Larry Shat himself. So yeah, I don't know what they thought this was going to prove to the custody battle, but that's the statement he provided for the custody battle. Just shows you how awkward this dude was. So he did go through some very large depressive bouts during his school years, which one of his roommates from college spoke of after the Jonestown massacre happened, stating that Shat painted morose self-portraits, infusing his face with dark circles under the eyes and an exaggerated nose. After his schooling, Shat briefly took an internship at San Francisco General Hospital. It lasted only a matter of weeks, but he made a good impression on the staff there, many saying that he was very kind and had great concern for his patients. He left only weeks into his internship and went off to Jonestown. As a Jonestown, kind of what I said at the beginning, as the Jonestown massacre is greatly covered in other documentaries and podcasts, I'm going to stop my story here, but wanted to include some quotes from Dr. Shat to illustrate how sick he was, and also to give weight to the fact that he was just as sick as Jim Jones and carries the same amount of blame and guilt in this horrific event. In a 1978 letter to Jones from Shat, explains that there is a good chance I can develop germicidal means, botulism and staphylococci in process now. I am quite capable of organizing the suicide aspect and will follow through and try to convey concern and warmth throughout the whole ordeal. So basically he's saying for those that are going through the poisoning, he's going to be there like, oh, I'm here for aid. You know, but like that's
just giving him more and making it worse.
Yeah, it's like that's how sick he was. He was already like he knows, like he's studying the effects of the cyanide, and he's like letting Jones know like people are gonna die slowly, but I'm gonna be there like to calm them down so it doesn't get out of control.
I fucking got this, bro. Don't even trip.
Yeah, so you know, just like I said, it just kind of illustrates how just far gone and gross he was. The final quote I have is from another memo from Shat to Jones. This is probably about a month or two before the massacre. I had some misgivings about its effectiveness, but from further research I have gained more confidence in it, at least theoretically. I would like to give about 2 grams to a large pig to see how effective our batch is, to be sure we don't get stuck with a disaster like would occur if we use thousands of pills to sedate the people and then the cyanide was not good enough to do the job. He adds further down, cyanide may take up to 3 hours to kill, but usually it is within minutes. He requests a particular article on acute cyanide poisoning from Medical Journal, and just in case anyone back in the States asks why, he states, we could say that a child was brought into our free medical clinic who had ingested rat poison containing cyanide, and we want this article on the subject. Larry Shat was barely 30 years old at the time of the Jonestown massacre. And that's my report.
Damn.
I thought he was much older.
Yeah, he was a young dude.
Yeah. See, for whatever reason, I thought he was like in his 40s or 50s.
Well, yeah, because he'd be working with Jim Jones. So
Yeah.
you assume they're both like creepy old assholes.
That's kind of exactly what I pictured.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's that one article from the Houston Press. If you're interested in reading more, it was the most substantial thing I found out there about Larry Shat. There's a lot more that I left out. It's a great article. It reads really well and easy. But he was a fucking asshole, and he played a bigger role in Jonestown that I think most people know about.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I didn't even know his name.
I never think about like, oh, what was the doc? No, it's Jones just mixed a bunch of shit.
And I think of
and passed it out.
that poor chimpanzee.
Oh, of
Yeah.
course.
Well, I mean, and those quotes at the end too show that he was experimenting with cyanide.
Right.
So like, because Jones was just like, he's the voice of the whole thing, but Shat's the trigger. He's the weapon, and it's pretty savage, man. So that's the brief story of Larry Shat. I
Can't wait to get more into that because there's a lot of stuff that is weird.
So let's jump into our second serial killer of the night. Welcome to and let's play round 2 of the Serial Chillers podcast. Yeah.
I feel bad that we don't have like a round 2 fight.
We just did. Our next killer
Why? Thank you.
Yeah.
is Wayne Bertram Williams. Wayne Williams.
Wayne.
Anybody? No?
No.
All right. Question number 10. In what year is Wayne Williams born? Yeah, it's just hard because you don't know who he is and there's no context. Wayne Williams, pretty classic name, and his middle name was Bertram.
Bertram.
In what year?
Mock yourself.
And I'm gonna go 1925.
25.
It's a solid
It
answer.
does seem like a 20s.
That name seems like the bee's knees.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Wayne Bertram.
20s, 30s.
I feel like a
Get
pat
your
of butter.
ass in the
I feel
house.
like a 20-year-old in the 40s would have that. That's kind of why I went back to the 20s.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really don't want to lose. I mean, that's all I'm thinking about is you're a loser.
Say October 7th, 2018.
Oh shit. Future tripping. 1929.
Once more with some gusto.
1929, please.
What'd you say again, Nick?
25.
25 and 29. You guys both feel like he's got a little roaring 20s.
Like some
hanging in there?
twang.
Like his parents were doing the Charleston.
Getty's going to get the points.
Yeah,
Neither of you were very close.
I don't deserve them.
Wayne Williams was born May 27th, 1958.
Oh, wow. That's super far off.
I don't know why we thought like the name Wayne had to be the 20s.
Bertram. That's what got me.
Still, it carried on from the 20s. Someone was fucking in the 20s.
So,
Yeah, you heard it here first.
Bertram's been getting it for decades.
Wayne Williams is born May 27th of 58 and raised in the Dixie Hills neighborhood of South Atlanta by Homer and Faye Williams. And both parents were teachers of an African-American heritage. Williams graduated from Douglas High School and developed a keen interest in radio and journalism. He constructed his own carrier current radio station and began hanging out at radio stations WIGO and WAOK. There he befriended a number of the announcing DJs and the crew and began dabbling in becoming a pop music producer and manager. So as you can see, nothing major in the childhood of Wayne Williams. We're already kind of in the late teen years here, but when
he's already a pop music manager.
He's trying to be. He's like he's essentially a talent scout. It's like he's not quite talented enough to get out there and make an album himself, so he's looking for someone that he can find that will do that he can represent. So looking back a little bit, though, he's at 15. He works as like a commercial announcer at WIGO radio. Like he said, he made some friends with the DJs, and they're like, "Yeah, you record this spot, then here you go.
Yeah, I'll give you $5."
Yeah, so he was recording like commercial spots. In 1974, he's 16 years old. He starts his own radio station, WRAZ, from his house.
Dang.
Yeah, so he's.
Does this story speak to you, Jesse?
it's like he and a couple friends running this radio station from his home. In 1976, at 18 years old, he graduates with honors from Frederick Douglass High School in Atlanta. So how much more normal really can it get? Like his parents are both teachers. He's
got a hobby.
He's got a hobby, a healthy hobby. Yeah, exactly. Question number 11.
Hold on, before you do that, how do we know it's a healthy hobby?
I mean,
like, there you go. That actually took me by surprise. I wasn't ready for that.
Whoa!
Yeah, I thought I was the only one who heard it for a second. Because nobody else reacted. So how do we know it's a healthy hobby? Like, how do we know this guy's radio station isn't just like sitting around talking about serial killers or something?
Well, that would be weird.
That seems unhealthy.
Here's the thing: is that I don't know that what his own radio station was about. I know some people listen to it though, but I know all of the other radio stations that he started at and that he got it started. They're just legit like local radio stations. So he started at least on the straight and narrow. And you're right, his hobby was healthy. I don't know what was on his radio station. We can't go back and archive those 1977 broadcasts. God damn it!
Coming from his mom's basement.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So,
hey guys, coming to you live from my mom's basement. It's WRAZ.
Come and clean your room.
Shut up! I'm doing Raz. Question number 11.
Playing the rock and rolls.
May of 1976, he's going to be arrested for the first time. For what crime? Will it be A, shoplifting, B, peeping, C, impersonating an officer, or D, burglary? Shoplifting, peeping, impersonating an officer, or burglary?
Man, I wasn't even close.
And I was going to jump in and stab.
So was I. I mean, not like I'm in it. I just was gonna.
All right, Nick's got his guess in. Geddy's got to find his sinner here. And what is it? Oh.
I'm going to go with burglary.
Geddy says burglary. Nick says peeping. Nobody getting points on this one.
Was it impersonating an officer?
He's arrested in Atlanta in 1976 for impersonating a police officer.
Shucks.
He would never actually
what
be
he said.
convicted of this crime, but he would be arrested for it. So,
I'm sure, like, stealing radio equipment or some shit.
okay, so updated score 2,500
Nice.
to 500. Nick's got the lead, but that's just like two stab
What
questions.
about that one? Was that me?
Oh, this is like a little side, like I'm just keeping score.
Let me get that points.
So let me get some of them.
He's got some. He's
Let
got
me get a
some.
little bit of
He's got
points.
some. He's got 500. He's
Tell you
in
what,
there.
we'll just cap it. We'll cap it at a 1,500, and then just sweep the rest off into my column.
So you better be careful, Nick. It's about strategy now. Don't score too many. So he's arrested in Atlanta, for impersonating a police officer, Greg. What was your original guess?
Drugs.
Drugs.
I figured if you were going to be like a talent scout, especially in like the 70s,
You're going to be giving like bumps out?
yeah, just be like, hey, why don't you come talk to me? Smell this. You know what I mean?
You guys smell cocaine? yeah. That would have been a good guess, but it would have been wrong. So
I would have liked it.
he works as an announcer and a reporter for WBJE Radio. Has as BJ in the middle. WBJE Radio. So this was kind of big for him because he was really into like investigative journalism, and it's the first time somebody's letting him do more than just like read off a copy. He's going to do some actual reporting at this point. January of 1977, he enrolls in Georgia State University, majoring in business, administration, and psychology. In 1977, he's 19 and works as a researcher for WGST Radio. And in August of 78, he is charged by the East Point Police Department with making a false charge, and the charges were eventually dismissed. So he was essentially going around and making up hate crimes, and that's false charge, I guess, is what the official crime is. But yeah, he's reporting false crimes. Yeah, exactly. The charges are dismissed for this, but this is what we see, right? We're talking about 2 like arrests or crimes he's committed that they're like,
Don't throw the book at him. Just let him go.
Yeah, just you don't do it again, Wayne.
These are victimless crimes.
So yeah, March of 1979. He is now 20 years old. He has a defining moment in college. Question number 12. What is that defining moment? You can stab for 1,000 points. I've got 4 multiple choice options for 250. I know it's broad, but there's some pretty fairly large defining moments one might find in their college career. Anybody gonna stab?
Hell yeah, I am.
Geddy's gonna stab. What say you?
I'm gonna say he loses his virginity.
Oh,
Keep it simple.
Keeps it simple.
Silly.
I kind of want to stab too.
Greg wants to stab too. He's not scoring, but he wants to guess. Let Nick get his answer in before you stab.
Yeah.
I was gonna do multiple choice. I think I'm still
All
gonna
right.
do
All right.
multiple choice.
Go ahead, Greg. What's your stab?
First gay experience.
First gay experience. Okay, so
That's it. Mine kind of ties in.
is it?
I don't. It doesn't make a gender.
Does he drop out, change majors, lose his virginity,
Ooh, the look.
or is he chosen for observation in a psych study?
What? Who would have ever stabbed that?
Fuck.
Drops out, changes major, loses virginity. Are you going to piggyback on Geddy's possible 1,000 point answer and maybe try to get a 250 point chunk of it? Does he play the strategy game?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Go with E. Crushes larynx.
See,
Bring it back.
So
Cool, I'm bringing it back.
he drops out.
I'd rather I get no points.
That was painful. When Geddy guessed that, I was like, oh man, I really wish he hadn't guessed something that was on the multiple choice list.
Oh man.
Yeah. So
Thank God I had
he
no
drops out of school.
Can we say definitively that he didn't lose his virginity in college?
We can, let's just say,
Just let me get a couple points.
let's
Y'all gotta do them
yeah,
points, man.
let's give Geddy 125 because we don't know whether or not he lost his virginity in college.
Let me get another 100 because we don't know if it was man or a woman.
Yeah, okay, true. So so
For the other 100.
I disagree with giving Geddy any points.
Okay,
At
fair,
any time, even if he's right.
Nick's just got a
Come on, man, I'm
7,000
desperate.
point
I'm
lead.
desperate. I can
So-
smell it in the bones.
In 1979, he drops out of Georgia State University, and he works as a photographer on special assignment with WSB-TV and the local fire department. He would stop doing this so that he could be a full-time talent scout, completely independently, with no real experience. So this isn't like some guy who's like, yeah, I've been in the industry for 15 years. I did it myself, and I never really could make it, but I helped produce some albums, and here, now I'm out trying to find the next big hit. He's just like this guy who is like, I am now a talent scout. Like, I declare bankruptcy. Like,
You can't just say it.
yeah,
I didn't. I declared it.
he's
Than Michael Scott.
Yeah. So he has no fucking experience, no idea what he's doing, but he's now a talent scout.
He likes it.
Yeah. Good for him.
He likes a radio.
Around the same time he becomes a talent scout, he strangles Alfred Evans, a young African American male who was 14 years old. He was found on Niskey Road in southwest Atlanta, Georgia, beside another victim, Edward Hope Smith, they were both seen July 25th, 79, and found July 28th. On November 8th of 79, we're just going to have like a bunch of killings right here, by the way. So
He's just going to go hard like right out of the gate.
and and we're going to talk controversy when we kind of come to it too, because this is one of those stories where we have a lot of killings and information we need to get out there, because the controversy has become far more what the story is than this part of it. So we're going to get through them just so we can see just the sheer volume we're talking about, because these ones are unlike Robert Brown's in that these are bodies. These aren't admitted to. These are recovered bodies that we're talking about. So a little bit different. Not that Robert Browne couldn't have possibly done it, but like we were saying, there was no proof. Here, these young boys are being discovered. So Yusuf Bell, who was also, just before I read that they were all African American males, they were all at the top. So we're not going to go into it anymore. Yusuf Bell was 9 years old. He was strangled to death and abandoned in E.P. Johnson Elementary School in Atlanta, Georgia. It was just this school that ran out of money, so it was there and chilling, and he was stuffed away in like this hole in the floor. He was last seen on October 21st, 1979, and found November 8th of 79. Yeah. May 19th, 1980, Eric Middlebrooks, who was 14, is beaten to death and found on 247 Flat Shoals Road next to the Hope You Like It bar in Atlanta, Georgia. He was last seen on the 18th of May and found on the 19th. June 9th, 1980, Christopher Richardson, who was 12, went missing. There was no cause of death that was discernible. He went missing in June and wasn't found until January of the following year.
So this guy's switching his MO up pretty hard. Like, he's not just sticking with strangling or beating. It's like he's jumping around.
Well, and that's part of the controversy, right? That we'll talk about. In the end, is like, there's this task force that's like, yeah, we got this guy, and these are the crimes that he committed.
Always a task force.
But it's like, wait,
What about them jackets, though?
yeah, exactly. Those Green River Killers.
It is also weird how like some of these bodies are being found really fast. Like he's making no attempt to cover up.
He stuffed one kid in a hole.
Yeah, the rest of them are just kind of like
Floorboards.
ditched. On June 9th, 1980, Christopher Richardson went missing. We did that one. June 24th, Aaron Wyke, who was 10, died of asphyxiation due to a broken neck and was found in Atlanta. He was last seen on the 23rd, found on the 24th. July 6th, 1980, he stabbed Anthony Carter to death. Anthony was 9. He is found in a warehouse at 6657 Wells Street in southwest Atlanta, Georgia. He was last seen on the 6th and discovered on the 7th. So, yeah, they're like all next day discoveries. Not a lot of, maybe he got scared or needed to hide the body.
It seemed like at first they weren't, because at first they were like a week, 5 days.
Yeah,
and
like he's becoming less meticulous.
Got that.
I don't
He's
know
losing the tire iron.
I don't know if
exactly.
it's he's becoming less meticulous, or the authorities are wising up and they're like, okay, now they're starting to recognize patterns where they're socked away somewhere under the floorboards or abandoned in a warehouse, and so they know these places to search, but they don't have any information to go on because they don't have the fucking CSI yet.
Yeah, they do have CSI though. Fingerprints and
Right,
this
but I mean,
isn't
they're not able to
DNA.
like
Yeah,
pull DNA, and if he's
you're
never
right.
been in the system, they're not going to have his fingerprints.
Yeah. So the mayor of Atlanta, Maynard Jackson, announces that a task force had been created to help find the killer. This is July 17th, 1980. Question number 13. Ooh. What was the task force called? Was it A, the Atlanta Missing Children's Task Force, B, the Georgia Multi-Agency Investigative Team, C, the Missing Young Men Task Force, or it was never actually given an official name.
Damn it, Jesse.
Atlanta Missing Children Task Force, Georgia Multi-Agency Investigative Team, Missing Young Men Task Force, never given a name.
You're so good with the fake answers.
He really is. And he's getting better as time goes on. The greatest thing is, like, as Geddy is waiting to get up to answer, you know there's somebody at home who's listening to this when this
Screaming.
is like they know the
This
answer.
is when Greg takes out like 19 seconds of silence. All right, Geddy. Atlanta Missing Children Task
All right,
Force,
future
Georgia
Greg.
Multi-Agency
I got an
Investigative Team, Missing Young Men Task Force, never given a name.
All right, future Greg, we're editing. A.
Ooh.
Geddy says A, Atlanta Missing Children Task Force. Nick says B, right?
Yeah.
Georgia Multi-Agency Investigative Team.
Sounded very bureaucratic.
This task force was never given a name.
Oh, that was my next guess.
I knew it wasn't B, though, because what was the...
Central Indiana Multi-Agency Task
Central
Force.
Indiana.
Investigative Team.
Investigative.
It just seems super bureaucratic and like something like dumb enough where the government might come up with that.
They did.
Yep.
It just
Oh,
wasn't
it is?
Georgia.
Central Indiana.
Okay.
Go back to the later episodes if you want to hear more about that.
Okay, so at this time, it's just been a bunch of young, essentially black children who have been attacked and killed, and the people of Atlanta aren't getting any help, and they're afraid to even have their kids around, and they're starting to think that it might have something to do because in Atlanta there's a huge chapter of the Ku Klux Klan. Mm-hmm. So many people who were around the scene said that they believe Atlanta was on the brink of a riot during this time. So it's like we don't hear about it because it's nothing. It's something that didn't eventually boil over. But from a lot of people, like on the police force, people like on the streets on the other side, they say like this was almost like an LA riots thing. This was almost it almost flipped, and luckily it didn't. July 30th of 1980, Earl Terrell, 11-year-old young man, is killed. The cause of death is unknown. He was last seen on January 9th and discovered on July 30th.
Crushed larynx.
January 9th to July 30th.
6 months missing on that one.
Wow.
August 21st, he strangled Clifford Jones, who was 12-year-old, and beat him to death at a laundromat at Hollywood Plaza in Atlanta, Georgia. His last seen August 20th, found the next day. October 10th of 1980, suffocates Charles Stevenson, who is 12, with an unknown object found on a hill on Normanberry Drive, Atlanta, Georgia. Last seen October 9th, found dead the next day. November 2nd, 1980, suffocated Aaron Jackson, who was 9. He was found off of Forest Park Road in South River beside the bridge in Atlanta, Georgia. He was last seen November 1st, found the following day. I've got like another page of these, you guys.
Jesus Christ.
Patrick Rogers was 16.
I think Geddy has a question.
Yes.
I love how you raise your hand. It's a fucking podcast. Nobody can see you.
Hold on. So this is like such a mash of just information. So like, how long is like happening between these? Because I know these bodies are getting found like the next day, but like, what's the?
This is honestly, so the first killing we talked about would have been
Was it like 1978?
1980, July of 79. July of 79, and right now we're in about August of 1980.
He's got like a dozen
God
under his belt.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just been a mash of like information. I'm just like,
Yep.
dude, what the?
So we're going to kind of roll through it here. We don't need to know every single detail about all these killings, but he strangled Terry Poe, who was 15, Luby Geeter, who was 14, Patrick Baltazar, who was 12, Timothy Hill, who was 13, Eddie Duncan, who was 21, suffocated Larry Rogers, who was 20, who was found on the kitchen floor of his apartment. April 12th of 1981, he stabbed John Porter, who was 28, to death, and he was found in Atlanta, Georgia. April 19th, suffocated Joseph Bell, who was 15, found in Rockdale County. April 20th, Michael McIntosh, who was 23, was found on the bank of the Chattahoochee River near Campbell Road in Atlanta, Georgia. April 27th, Jimmy Payne is 21. He died of an undetermined asphyxiation. Was also found on the Chattahoochee River near a bankhead and highway in Atlanta, Georgia. He was missing for 6 days. So he's starting to dump on the river now. It sounds a little bit like he's sick of maybe the next day discoveries going down. And it's like, all right, I got to start maybe preparing for this a little better. So the Chattahoochee River has become a dumping ground for bodies. And if you notice, a lot of the bodies have, or a lot of the victims have become older.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I wonder how much of that is him actually going after somebody who's older and how much of it is other crimes that he didn't commit being pinned on him.
And like I said, we'll talk about some controversy in
Well,
the
there's
end.
also like the concept of as these murders are happening and people are more aware, they're going to keep their smaller ones indoors. So he's probably still just taking who's out playing,
That's
who can I take
true.
advantage of.
Or it's copycats who don't quite understand the MO.
It's a mixture of both, probably. But I mean, I guarantee you, if the city was in such unrest, as you were saying earlier, that people are going to keep their kids indoors. If I was a parent, that's exactly what I would do.
I think it's weird. It seems like an opposite berserker mode type deal where before he was just throwing them all over and
Right.
discover the next day, and then he wants to be smarter about it. And
There's just so
try and hide
many
it more.
already.
It usually flips.
Yeah, I agree.
Controversy.
So a couple weeks later, it looks like he takes a little break. May 12th of 81, he strangles William Barrett, who is 17. He's found in a wooded area on Winthrop Drive in Atlanta. He was missing for just 1 day. May 24th of 81, Nathaniel Carter, who is 27, died of an undetermined asphyxiation, is found on the Atlanta side of the Chattahoochee River. He's last seen on the 21st of May, found 3 days later. Williams first becomes a suspect in the Atlanta murders in May of 1981 when a police surveillance team watching a bridge spanning the Chattahoochee River, essentially they heard some shit's going down on the Chattahoochee. There are bodies being discovered, so they start checking this bridge, which is like a good access to all of these spots. So they're kind of out there just surveying and figuring out if they can figure anything out. And as they're doing that, they hear this big loud splash come off the bridge.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So obviously they're going to track down whoever dropped whatever that was. And the first automobile to exit the bridge after the splash at roughly 2 a.m. belonged to Wayne Williams. When stopped and questioned, he told police that he was on his way to check on an address in a neighboring town. He was going to he was pre-Google mapping it. He was driving there and being like, there it is. Cool. I'll be able to get here tomorrow now. And
We've all done that.
Yeah,
like working
for sure.
at a new building or something like that, and you
Yeah.
want to show up and like be on time for your first day.
100%.
But not 2 a.m. the day before I had to.
Right.
So that's what Wayne
Never
Williams is
proceeded
saying
slash.
is that he's just out. He's just that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing, man. So he said he's going to see checking the address of a singer named Cheryl Johnson. He gives the phone number and address to police. However, the phone number turns out to be fake, and Cheryl Johnson turns out to be a fabricated person. Later, he's going to give another reason why he was on the bridge that night. Question number 14. What was that reason? Was he A, stargazing? B, he heard police were in the area and he wanted to see? C, a night drive to clear his head? Or D, he claimed that he was sleep driving? Stargazing, wanted to see the police, night drive to clear his head, or somnambulism? It's real, man. Listen to Anxious Extroverts.
Yeah, dog. Believe that.
Episode 2, I believe.
If I do recall.
You get those episodes if you donate to the Patreon.
Yeah.
Simple,
Stargazing.
it's just a book. Come on.
Oh, wait.
Stargazing. Here's police are there and wants to see. Night drive to clear his head. Claims that he was sleep driving.
Man, it's crazy how tough this shit is when you're not just sitting in your car.
I know.
You're like, of course it's this, you dumbasses. When the heat is on.
Now you're going to be the one getting called dumbasses.
I mean, that happens all the time anyway. So I'm
Yeah,
But it's going to be by a lot more people.
Yeah, a lot more people. People that I don't know. I've never
Yet.
met. People that I don't know call me a dumbass. That is true.
If you want to call me a dumbass, just donate $1 to the Patreon and then hit me up in the Serial Killers Podcast Facebook group.
We'll give you his phone numbers so you can actually call him and call him a
That's
dumbass.
$5.
Actually,
I'm not that cheap.
No, my phone number's
$5.
10. Geddy's cheaper than I am. He also has more time than I do.
Oh my goodness.
All right, what do we got, Geddy?
I'm gonna say he's gonna be a prick and be like, "Oh, I wanted to see the cops."
Okay. Geddy says,
on
I
the
wanted to
radio.
see the cops.
Like a prick.
And Nick said, night drive to clear his head. He just wanted to see the cops, you guys. He said he had several friends who were police officers, and he just wanted to see what they were doing. He heard they
Clawing
were
back into it.
staking out the... Yeah, keep...
Yeah, if I was gonna stab, I was gonna guess that.
I think I should get, should give me $750.
Just let me get some.
Plus $12.50.
Just let me get some points.
If Geddy wins, I might cry.
It's not even...
It's on now,
Yeah,
brother.
It's not close.
There is a prize in this game.
I want to make him cry.
It's called Pride. 2 days later, on May 24th, the nude body of 27-year-old Nathaniel Cater, who had been missing for 3 days, was discovered in the river near where they heard the large splash. The medical examiner ruled that he had died of probable asphyxiation, but never specifically said that he had been strangled. So later, to make everything work and him get charged possibly, this was never ruled a homicide, so they have to go back and amend the death certificate to make it say homicide, which is perfectly legal, by the way, apparently.
They can just switch it out. Just
Pretty much.
That's
But
why
was an
pencils
eraser.
have
I'm sorry.
eraser, pal.
it wasn't just a scribble out, it was an amendment to the death certificate. And in the interview, you can tell the guy got all pissed off that they asked him about it, because he's like, it's an amendment to a document. This is perfectly legal and happens all the time.
Nobody said it wasn't, doctor.
Yeah.
I'm not hiding anything.
Quit asking. What are you guys grilling
that
me
was
for?
that was like kind of
Yeah,
what
I
it
knew
seemed
Jim
like.
Jones.
Yeah,
I
so
went to school in Guadalajara.
Yeah, we did some stuff. So what?
Yeah.
So, Williams subsequently was brought in for questioning and failed 3 polygraph tests, and hairs and fibers retrieved from the body of another victim, Jimmy Ray Payne, were found to be consistent with those from his home, car, and dog. Co-workers told police they had seen Williams with scratches on his face, arms, and around his neck at the times of the murders, which investigators surmise could have been inflicted by victims during a struggle. Williams held a press conference outside of his home to proclaim his innocence. So this was like a huge case. It was like a media circus in his front lawn. He had to like push his way to his front door, and so he decides to get.
Oh yeah,
up
the
there.
city was on the verge of a riot. Like,
Right.
and then now they've got a suspect.
They've got public enemy number 1. So the media is out there, and he's like giving a press conference. He doesn't have a lawyer there. He doesn't have
Was
someone
there,
saying
mob
like.
justice there as well, or just like the news was like, whoa? Or
It
everyone's
sounds
like, "You're fucking dead."
it sounds a lot more like it was just full of media, but who knows exactly what was going on. But the few videos that I saw, it made it seem like that. Just there was 80 cameras and 40 reporters. And
Everyone wants the story.
yeah, exactly. So he gives this like impromptu press conference in front of his house. Like what could go wrong? Well, he tells everybody about the fact that he fails the multiple polygraph tests and about the hairs and fibers retrieved from the body. Many of the things that he said during the press conference would have been inadmissible in court. But now the media knows about them, and they're part of the story. They're out in the ether. Even though you get a jury who doesn't know anything about it going in or whatever.
So anything he said would have been inadmissible.
Anything.
So if he was like, I might have done it.
Well,
maybe.
I'm saying the fact that he failed those 3 tests, like they wouldn't have been able to bring it in for whatever reason. They're saying like it was stuff that wasn't going to be allowed to be brought into court.
Oh.
But since he told everybody on the cameras are here, I'm going to tell you right now, I failed these 3 polygraph tests, and
Y'all
that.
want to see my face?
Yeah. So it's not a problem. Will. So yeah, his coworkers are kind of saying, listen, he's got some fucked up stuff going on. He's giving press conferences that are bringing in inadmissible evidence to the case. He was arrested officially on June 21st, 1981 for the murders of Cater and Payne. During the 2-month trial, prosecutors matched 19 different sources of fibers from Williams' home and car, his bedspread, bathroom, gloves, clothes, carpet, dogs, and unusual trilobal carpet fiber to a number of victims while they were alive and inconsistent with his accounts and whereabouts. Fiber evidence is really what this whole thing is going to be based on, which now we look at, right? It's like 2018 and we're like, fiber evidence? Like it's a
stretch.
Yeah.
What is this, the 80s?
Yeah. Oh, shit.
That fiber stuff blows my mind, though.
Yeah. I mean, some of it, I'm
this
like...
can only be from the trunk of this certain car. It's
yeah,
like,
exactly. Sometimes there are success stories, but this one, the entire thing is based upon the fiber evidence. So there's a little bit of eyewitness testimony placing Williams with some of the victims while they were alive. There's inconsistencies in his own stories about his whereabouts. He took the stand in his own defense. So he's going to be questioned over 3 days, right? So in the first 2 days, he just kind of sits back. He takes the questions. He answers them. And somebody on his defense team says, you got to have a little fire. You know, when they say something that is not correct, you need to correct them. And you need to, argue your point when you have a point. And so he goes out the third day and he's not trained to do this. So he looks like a fucking asshole. And the headlines read like Wayne Williams lashes out and all this shit.
No, I didn't kill him.
And,
No,
and that's,
said I didn't do
and
it.
he was name
something where he came
calling.
out like a
He
preacher,
was,
like, no.
yes.
No, you're a prick.
He's
wanted
name
to see the
calling.
cops.
He can't. He doesn't have the brain power to put together a.
Well, yeah, it's an odd flip flop to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
2 days
It's
of
all
just
the
sitting
time
back
like-
and taking it. So he says in the documentary that he believes that if he had not done this on the third day, that the case would have he would have been not guilty. So, there's a lot going on here.
He's not a bright individual, though. Like, overall, it just seems like...
Well, I mean, he graduated with honors. I feel like he's probably book smart, but he doesn't know how the world works.
I think that's kind of how it
I like
is.
to checks out.
Question number 15. It's the jury's turn to make a decision. They deliberate for 12 hours and they say A, guilty, B, not guilty, C, it's a hung jury, or D, a mistrial is declared. Guilty, not guilty, hung jury, mistrial.
Shot out of a cannon. C.
A.
Nick
Oh,
says
that's what you're
guilty.
Is that all written down as boop boop?
No, I just did that.
Bing, bang, whoop. And Geddy says, C, a hung jury. But after 12 hours of deliberation, the jury finds him guilty on February 27th of the murders of Cater and Payne. He was sentenced to life imprisonment.
Stop it. He's already dead.
Already dead. So, yeah, it's a lot to a little.
There's like 2 more questions, and I'm having both of them. Where does that even get me? Possible?
It's over, man.
I want a fucking artistic challenge now.
I demand it.
You bring it to me now?
Lightning round.
So yeah, it takes him 12 hours to deliberate. He is guilty. He's sentenced to life. In the 1990s, Williams filed a habeas corpus petition and requested a retrial. Butts County Superior Court Judge Hal Craig denied this appeal. Georgia Attorney General Thurbert Baker said that although this does not end the appeal process, I am pleased with the result of the habeas corpus case and that this office will continue to do everything possible to uphold the conviction. In early 2004, Williams sought a retrial once again, with his attorneys arguing that law enforcement officials covered up evidence and involvement with the Ku Klux Klan, and the carpet fibers linking him in the crimes would not stand up to scientific scrutiny. A federal judge rejected the request for retrial on October 17th of 2006. So, let's talk a little bit about the controversy here.
That's why I went with a hung jury. I was like, what's more controversial than a hung jury?
I don't know, but that was a great movie.
Hung jury? Or jury duty?
Hung jury.
Ooh, Pauly Shore.
Yeah, I thought you were going with Pauly Shore.
No. It's one of those ones you have to get from the back of the movie store.
Gross.
They deliberated for 12 hours.
It's a little long.
So, the controversy.
VHSs.
Williams has maintained his innocence from the beginning and claimed that Atlanta officials covered up evidence of KKK involvement and in the killings to avoid a race war in the city. His lawyers have charged that the conviction was profound miscarriage of justice and kept an innocent man incarcerated for a majority of his adult life and allowed the real killers to go free. In contrast, Joseph Drolet, who prosecuted Williams at trial, has stood by Williams' conviction, noting that after Williams was arrested, the murder stopped, and there was nothing going on ever since. Other observers have criticized the thoroughness of the investigation and the validity of its conclusions. The author James Baldwin, in an essay, The Evidence of Things Not Seen, from 1985, raised questions about Williams' guilt. Members of the community and several other victims' parents did not believe that Williams was the one who killed their children. One woman in the documentary said that the police told her, like, don't worry about it. Like, this is the guy that killed your kid. Like, we may not be going to trial for it, but that's the guy. And she was like, bullshit. Like, he didn't kill my kid. And, like, if you're going to tell me nobody's doing time for killing my kid, I'll never give up, you know? So she was saying that the police were saying, he did it. Like, don't worry. You're good.
Look over here.
Yeah. She said, her quote was, there's no one serving time for killing my baby. On May 6, 2005, DeKalb County Police Chief Louis Graham ordered the reopening of the murder cases of the 4 boys killed in that county between February and May of 81, and that had been attributed to Williams. The announcement was welcomed by relatives of some of the victims who said that they believed the wrong man was blamed for many of the murders. Graham, an assistant police chief in neighboring Fulton County at the time of the murder, said this decision to reopen the cases was driven solely on his belief in Williams' innocence. Former DeKalb County Sheriff Sidney Dorsey, who was an Atlanta homicide detective at the time, also said that he believed Williams was strongly blamed for the murders. If they arrested a white guy, he said, there would have been riots across the U.S. Fulton County authorities have not reopened any of the cases under their jurisdiction, however. According to an August 2005 report, Charles T. Sanders, a white supremacist affiliated with the KKK and an early suspect in the murder, once praised the crimes in a secretly recorded conversation. Although Sanders did not claim responsibility for the deaths, he told an informant with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation in 1981 on a recording that the killer had wiped out 1,000 future generations of a very racially expletive word. Police dropped the probe into possible Klan involvement. Question number 16. Why had they dropped the investigation into the KKK? Geddy, it's super broad. Do you want to stab?
You have to if you want to win.
Even then, you can't win. I'm sorry.
Yes, I can.
I'll give him bonus points.
Look, I'm looking at these numbers. I can stab at both of these. Nick gets both of them wrong. Be exposed for the loser.
It'd be a good defensive strategy for you to
and
pick
then
the same.
We can go to an artistic challenge or a singing challenge.
Singing challenge.
I'd like to get to the evening gown portion.
Okay, then. For what reason did they drop the investigation into the KKK? The official reason. Not because of the race riots.
Oh, fuck.
We already said
drop
that.
The investigation into the KKK.
Yeah, it's broad. This wasn't originally a stabbing one. I'm just giving you a chance.
Well, I don't know. Like a fear of retaliation type deal? You're receiving death threats from little Klansmen, little spooky ghosts?
Was it A, clear-cut definitive proof that they were innocent because they passed a lie detector test, they were being pressured politically to do so, or because Wayne Williams had been arrested? There's no reason to.
I would say your answer fits with the political pressure.
That's what I was thinking too.
Fear of retaliation from...
But also the look on his face wasn't too...
I'm going to go, because he'd already been arrested. D.
They dropped the probe because the brothers passed one lie detector test.
Wow.
Like, oh, yeah,
Even though that guy failed 3.
Yeah. Well, they passed one.
I want a retrial. Take it back.
Sorry, Geddy.
I win. Sorry.
Yeah, let's give it up. Let's give it up for Nick and his win today. Sorry, Geddy, that it didn't happen for you. I'm pulling for you next time.
That wasn't real applause. That was recorded like
No, I totally
decades
clapped.
ago.
Greg and I both clapped. I clapped for myself. But I
Knew you guys were in
I'm
cahoots.
That's what you got to do. Clap for your damn self.
So finish up a little more.
Sarcastic clap for me.
Clap for being a loser.
That just means we get to come back.
Yep.
Now it's 1-1, dude.
There you go.
Every
exactly
That's
that.
why I bombed it, not because I'm stupid.
Next time around, every question is going to be artistic.
A singing.
Or stab. Those are your two choices.
Or singing. This is new. If you want to vote for this, go to the Serial Killers Podcast Facebook group if you want to hear me sing.
So, former FBI profiler Johnny Douglas wrote in his book Mindhunter that, in his opinion, forensic and behavioral evidence points conclusively to Wayne Williams as the killer of 11 young men in Atlanta. He added, however, that he believed that there was no strong evidence linking him to all or even most of the deaths and disappearances of children in the city between 79 and 81. DNA testing was performed in 2010 on scalp hairs found in the body of an 11-year-old victim, Patrick Baltazar. While the results were not firmly conclusive, the FBI's DNA laboratory listed odds of 130 to 1 against the hairs coming from any other person than Williams. I didn't know fucking the FBI was Vegas now.
Yeah, dude. You didn't know?
I guess not.
That's totally how it works. That's why, like, yeah, they're crooks.
So the Baltazar case was
take.
included among 10 additional victims presented to the jury at Williams' trial. So that's essentially it. The task force took the 11 that they thought they had the strongest case for and said, these are the 11 we're going to try. And it was a huge deal because he agreed to go to trial on one case. So they got there and the defense says, well, during this one case, we'd like to discuss the possibility of these other 10. And the judge looked at the evidence and says, all right, which is huge because they're getting to discuss other crimes during a trial.
Wait, defense or
technically,
prosecution?
the prosecution is
Discussing the other crimes.
right.
All right.
Right.
I heard defense, and I was
Sorry,
like,
I
why
may
would
have
they-
said defense. It's midnight.
I was like, why would they want to bring it in?
yeah. So the
Do I get any
prosecution.
points for helping? For assist?
Yes, 10,000.
You idiot. You're done.
I mean, the only thing that would make sense is
You're done
if
here.
there was such a variance in the other murders from this one. Like, they could be like, that's totally not him.
Right.
That's the only, like, standpoint the defense would gain it bringing these in, if that's the reason why they brought him in.
I
Yeah.
look at it as, if it was the Klan, I mean, as cliche as it is, wouldn't they like leave a noose or like something to be like, hey, we fucking
Well, yeah, they
sheriffs.
usually took credit for it,
Yeah.
but
They
at the
leave
same
them-
time,
Modern day Klan is not.
yeah, I was
you
gonna
know,
say,
a little
they
more
know
safe
they're
or
not
something.
invincible either.
Because they're like, dude, you're outdated. What are you still doing this for?
Yeah.
right? We know who you are, David Duke, and he was like, ah.
I want to see my face.
Okay, so dog hairs are also found on Baltazar's body. Were tested in 2007 by the genetics laboratory at the University of California, Davis School of Veterinary Medicine, which found a 99% probability that the DNA sequence came from the Williams family German Shepherd. However, the director of the laboratory, Elizabeth Wickham, says that she pointed out that while the results were fairly significant, they were by no means conclusive. Only mitochondrial DNA was tested, which, unlike nuclear DNA, cannot be shown to be unique to one dog. This means that while the report said that the hairs on the bodies contained the same DNA sequence as Williams' dog, the same DNA sequence occurs in about 1 in 100 dogs.
Wow.
How about that?
It's pretty broad.
The FBI report stated that only Wayne Williams cannot be excluded as a suspect in the case. So not necessarily that they have the most evidence against him or that they have definitive proof that he is guilty. It's just like, when we narrow it down, he's the one that we think could have done it the most.
He's the most likely suspect.
Yeah. So, A Department of Justice study released in April of 2015 concluded that numerous hair analysis conducted by FBI examiners during the 80s and 90s, quote, may have failed to meet professional standards, end quote. Defense attorney Lynn Watley immediately announced that the report would form the basis of the new appeal, but prosecutors responded that hair evidence played only a minor role in Williams' conviction. So she's like, look, they fucking came out and admitted that this is bullshit. And they're like, that was like this much of the case. You don't need a retrial for that. So, question number 17. Geddy, just get some more on the board, and we'll come back to it next time. All right. What year did Wayne Williams die? 2007, 2009, 2014, or is he also still alive?
I don't want to play anymore.
You guys suck. I'm taking my headphones and going home.
Hey, how about I just let you trick me here and I'll say he's still alive?
Oh,
I was going to go see 2014.
2014.
Okay.
He may not have struck them all, but Geddy will strike last because Wayne Williams, as far as I know right now, is still alive.
So it's not a total knockout. It's like it went to decision. You know what I mean?
should have
Yeah,
just
yeah.
stabbed at that, at least.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to try anyway.
That just means we're coming back. next
Draw
time.
anyway.
Other than that, anything you guys would like to add? Let's start with Hella Greg. What's up over there, buddy? Anything you want to add to this? Yeah,
I don't know.
All right,
Yeah.
all right, fair enough. Fair enough.
Actually, yeah, at Hella Greg on all your favorite social medias. Other podcasts on SUPRnetwork. You didn't hear it here. That's it.
Things, man, things.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Nick, Geddy, anything you'd like to share? Anything you'd like to put out there?
You can go first.
Now's your
because you
chance. Now's your chance.
I don't really have much. It was just rad to be here, man.
Cool, man. It's very rad to have you.
This
Yes.
is crazy.
We're here together now,
man.
and you've been in the SUPRnetwork studio.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
It's been a pleasure to have you.
Yeah. No bullshit.
Hear that, other listeners? This could be you.
This could be you.
Maybe you just gotta
Don't push it. Don't
Donate
push it.
$500 to the Patreon monthly.
just don't be a.
They're very great
tool when
hosts.
you're in, dude.
I would also like to thank both of you guys for bringing us out here. It's been super fun.
For sure, man.
I do want to shout out to my coworker Christina. She's super addicted to you guys now. I got her. To
What's up,
follow.
Christina?
And then Cody. He's my uncle, and he loves you guys as well. And he loved the last shout out I gave him. So Cody, you're awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Cody.
Appreciate you, Cody.
And aside from that, just again, thank you guys. It's been super fun.
Heck yeah, man.
has
Awesome
been
to
fun.
have you. Well, a lot to take in there, guys. We only recorded for 3.5 hours. We'll see what the episode ends up being.
45 minutes of its usual.
So
How long do they usually run?
About
2.5, 2.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, we took a long break though. Yeah, so got a couple fuck faces here. Check it out. Episode 65, guys, in the books. Thank you, Geddy. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Hella Greg.
Congratulations on your win.
Yes,
Feels good,
congratulations. Yes, it was a good win. Here, let me give you one of these.
Good.
All right. Thank you, co-host Greg. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Geddy. And thank you, everybody, for listening to episode 65 of the Serial Chillers podcast. All right, that was episode 65. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Hella Greg, of course. Thanks a ton to Nick and Geddy again. I said it a lot at the intro. I'm saying it a lot at the outro. It was so much fucking fun hanging out with you guys. I appreciate you being here more than you even know. Let's give big shout outs to the new Patreon homies from this month. Huge shout out to Danny Freed, Kayla Riojas Harris, Jimmy Purificado, and big special thanks to the West family and Nick Drury for upping their Patreon patronage. So thank you to all those people. Thank you to anybody who has given and is thinking about giving, and we just appreciate the hell out of you guys. Fuck Robert Browne and Wayne Williams. Let's not talk about him anymore. Hit us up in all the ways that you can. Facebook, Serial Chillers Podcast. Instagram is at Serial Chillers Podcast. The Twitter is at Chillers Podcast. The email address, serialchillerspodcast@gmail.com. Call or text the voicemail line 1-805-666-2513. I heard some people say they were upset they didn't get their Halloween special story in. Here's the deal. That's not all-inclusive. If you guys want to send us a story that's on the voicemail, or you want to record it yourself and send it in and we like it, we're going to play it on whatever the fuck episode we feel like. So that's what's going on over here. SerialChillersPodcast.threadless.com for any of your merch needs. Rate and review on everything, please, you guys. And, like we said at the top, patreon.com/SerialChillersPodcast. It's a huge way to give to the show. If you like it, you can give as little as $1 a month. There's extra episodes of Anxious Extroverts going up every 2 weeks. If you want to hear a show that Greg and I did that failed before this, give $1 a month. You can hear it every 2 weeks. So thank you to everybody for listening to this episode. Thank you again to Nick and Geddy and hella Greg. It's been a fucking amazing season so far, you guys. I can't wait for what's coming up. Remember, don't talk to strangers.
This has been another presentation from SUPRnetwork.